Hey guys, tonight we slip barefoot into cool mountain mist, where stone shrines breathe smoke and the air tastes faintly of leaf fire and honey. You stand on a narrow ridge road in Sri Lanka's central highlands, the kind that curls like a lazy snake between tea-dark slopes and shadowed forest. Somewhere below you, a stream mutters to itself in the dark. Somewhere above you, unseen things are already awake. And just so we're clear, wandering into pre-sunrise jungle paths guided only by faith, fireflies, and superstition is one of those hobbies you probably won't survive long in real life. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're settling in, I'm curious, drop your location and your local time in the comments. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You breathe in damp earth and wood smoke as the hills slowly reveal their shapes. This is a world before alarm clocks, before tea plantation whistles, before the mountain roads were scarred into the slopes. You stand where villagers have stood for centuries, waiting for the thin silver line of dawn that gives permission to move. Stone steps, worn into soft curves by countless bare feet, lead upward between mossy boulders. You don't rush. Nobody ever rushes the hills. As you start walking, a mainstream historical truth quietly settles around you. Long before European ships ever edged toward these shores, Sri Lanka already supported sophisticated irrigation kingdoms, rice agriculture, and thriving trade networks. Even up here, far from royal capitals, the rhythms of rice and rain once shaped everything. You can almost feel it in the soil beneath your feet, worked, rested, and worked again across dozens of human lifetimes. The path narrows, and branches knit overhead like ribs. You're not alone, though it feels that way. Ahead of you, silhouettes move slowly, villagers wrapped in thin cloth, shoulders bent slightly forward, each carrying something cradled close to the chest. Clay bowls, leaf-wrapped bundles, offerings that steam gently in the cold air. No one speaks. This is not the hour for talking. This is the hour for listening to what your footsteps sound like when the forest hasn't quite decided if it approves of you yet. There's a strange comfort in following a trail that existed before maps. These footpaths weren't laid out by engineers, but by habit, by thousands of small decisions repeated every morning. Turn left at the split root, step wide over the slick stone, duck under the low branch that always seems to reach for your forehead at the worst possible moment. Yes, you bunk your head lightly. The hill spirits are already unimpressed. First impressions matter. Somewhere in the dark canopy above, a bird releases a single questioning chirp. You imagine it asking the same thing you are. Who's climbing and why now? The answer, of course, is tradition, or fear, or hope. Usually all three tangled together like vines. Here's a quirky little tidbit whispered along these paths. Some villagers once believed certain hill spirits could smell intention the way humans smell smoke. So if your heart wasn't steady, they'd know before you even reached the shrine. Which is deeply unfair because your heart right now is mostly focused on not slipping into a ravine before breakfast. And yet, for all the certainty people carried in their bones, historians still argue whether these early highland spirit traditions were primarily pre-Buddhist forest religions or later blends shaped by monastic influence. The stones don't answer. The paths don't clarify. They only keep leading upward. As the eastern sky pales from ink to charcoal to faint pearl, you feel that old practical anxiety under the devotion. Pleasing the unseen wasn't abstract philosophy, it was survival math. If the rains failed, if sickness crept into the valley, if elephants broke the paddy dikes, someone would eventually whisper that the spirits had been neglected. And neglect up here carried consequences. You adjust your step, matching the quiet pace of those ahead of you. The forest exhales cool breath onto your skin. Somewhere higher on the ridge, the first thread of cooking smoke begins to rise, and with it, the faint, unmistakable promise of sweetness. You follow the smoke uphill until the forest thins and the rock faces begin to show their teeth. Gray cliffs streaked with mineral scars and old bird nests. This is where the honey comes from, not from neat boxes with tidy labels, but from wild colonies stitched into impossible places. You crouch behind a low boulder and watch as the honey hunters prepare, their movements economical, almost bored with danger. Mainstream historical fact slips in quietly here. For thousands of years, people across South Asia harvested wild forest honey long before beekeeping with wooden hives became common, and in Sri Lanka's hill country, cliff and tree honey were prized for both food and ritual use. One man coils a rope at his feet, another checks a bundle of smoldering leaves tied to a stick. Smoke, not bravery, is the real protective gear today. The bees overhead are still half asleep, clustered like a living bruise under an overhang. You can hear them faintly now, the low, irritated hum that says, "You're early and we don't appreciate it." You inch closer with everyone else, heart beating just a touch faster than necessary. The rope hiss slides against rock as the climber lowers himself. Bare feet finding holds your modern insurance policy absolutely does not approve of. You imagine trying to explain this to a safety inspector. Somewhere in a parallel universe, a clipboard snaps in half from sheer stress. The smoke rises in lazy curls, dulling the sharp alertness of the hive. Bees spill out in slow spirals rather than ballistic fury. The climber moves quickly now, knife flashing once, twice. The honeycomb comes free with a sticky sound that somehow carries even through the murmuring forest. Golden liquid oozes immediately, catching the first faint sunlight like melted coins. Here's a quirky little tidbit passed around in hill villages. Some honey hunters once claimed the bees